go. Latest trends to go with the flow. Holding it in my own hand. Then I want to laugh like I lost my mind. Usually confused all the time. I can't get no satisfaction in activity. Sitting heavily like stones upon my shoulders, weighing down on me. So let's spread our wings to bigger, better things. Flying to another world, let's go. When every door was locked away, with every possibility. Okay, just another day. I'll break the wall that's in my way. I'm shooting past that limit break. I'm certain this is just a piece of cake. Just wait and see how strong I'll be. I'll reach invincibility. This is Dragon Ball Super. Just tell the gods I'm blowing them away.
Well, I can understand if you're surprised, Roshi said jovially, stepping out of the doorway into the hellish landscape. After all, it's been a while since I've been on the front lines. What are you planning to do, though? Oob asked. I mean, he's picking us apart. And no offense, but... Roshi nodded. Oh, I know, my power's pretty much zip compared to you guys. Good thing I'm not planning on just hitting him then. 18 approached, keeping a wary eye on Hades Shenron, who seemed content for the moment to watch events unfold. The Mafuba, right? The evil containment wave? Roshi fell silent, face unmoving. You can't! Break protested. You'll kill yourself! And for good this time! Besides, he's way too powerful to be trapped by— I am aware of the facts, Roshi sighed. Trust me, I wouldn't turn up out of the blue just to use the Mafuba on some opponent I knew nothing about, other than they're too strong for it to work. He began to circle the Shadow Dragon, keeping his gaze fixed on it. But you're not an ordinary fighter, are you, Dragon? Hades turned around, directly between Roshi and the door, now that the old master finally stopped pacing.
Ah, so you know of my power also. Good, then I need not demonstrate that I cannot be destroyed.
He folded his arms.
Not that you could injure me no matter how much I lowered my ki with that pathetic strength of yours.
Oob frowned. Wait, Roshi's got him facing away. Is this his plan or something? Distracted so we can attack from behind? Well, it's worth a shot, I guess. He clenched his fist, preparing to initiate the Kaioken. This might be my only shot. No choice but to push it higher. Hope the strain isn't too much. Hiya! Kicking off the ground, Oob launched himself at Hades, leaving a burning trail in his wake as he brought his leg down towards the Shadow Dragon's head. However, it jerked to a halt scant millimeters from its target, stopped dead by an invisible wall of force that then exploded outwards, catapulting Oob backwards. Fool, Roshi thought. If that was all it would take to beat him, I wouldn't need to be here.
That was very rude, mortal.
Hades muttered.
I shall kill you first. Now, Elder, do go on. How did you know of my powers?
Roshi smiled. My sister, the fortune teller Baba, is the guide between the living world and the world of the dead. As soon as you manifested in this universe, she was able to detect the imbalance between the two realms caused by your very existence. She came straight to me and helped me identify your energy signature. Looks like I got here just in time. I knew you couldn't be killed normally. He frowned. What is your name?
Hades Shenron. You sound like you have a plan. Do go on.
Hades' laugh came tinny and hollow from behind the mask.
I do so love mortals and their plans.
I'll be brief. Don't want to bore you. The Mafuba, or evil containment wave, is a technique for sealing an evil being within a container. He threw a capsule on the floor, opening it to reveal a decent-sized metal canister. Such as this one. But if the being I'm trying to seal is strong enough, and you are by a mile, they can easily resist it. Not to mention that sealing a being with this technique costs the user their own life.
Continue, please.
Hades chuckled.
But do try to get to the point. You wouldn't come all the way here just to tell me about a technique which, by your own admission, won't work on me.
No, I would not. Roshi tapped the container with his foot. But then, this is no ordinary container, he grinned. My sister is, as I've said, responsible for the boundary between life and death, and her magical abilities are highly in tune with it. He squared his shoulders, eyes narrowing. What I'm going to seal isn't you, Hades. It's your link to hell. Your ability to reform yourself will be lost! Hades froze.
What?
My sister enchanted this container, Roshi explained. It took a great deal of effort, but she poured all of her magical power into making it a channel that would redirect the Mafaba to your link with Hell, rather than your physical body. Unfortunately, doing this now will cost both her and myself our lives. No! Break called. There's no going back anymore! We can find another— You've just been trying another way, Roshi said firmly. But I cannot win your battle for you. Hades will be killable, but still far stronger than you. Good luck. Hades Shenron! He declared. Prepare yourself! There was a blur of movement, and a wet, sliding sound. Roshi's voice stopped mid-sentence as his body was jerked upwards like a ragdoll, Hades' arm thrust through his stomach. Streams of blood dripped down the Shadow Dragon's upraised arm, droplets splashing against the emotionless mask.
Like I said, I do love mortals and their little plans.
Roshi! Break yelled, lunging but being instantly floored by another nonchalant blast.
Honestly.
Hades murmured, idly crushing the metal container beneath his clawed foot.
What made you think you could pull a technique like that off against an enemy so much faster than you? Really, this kind of lack of foresight is unbecoming of you. Age is supposed to bring wisdom after all.
Roshi chuckled weakly. Hades paused.
What's funny?
Roshi's form wavered. Then in a small puff of smoke was replaced by that of a small humanoid pig in army fatigues. They all thought I was a coward. Funny thing. Oolong choked. Till recently, so did I. He slumped forwards, eyes closed, still impaled on the dragon's arm.
What is this?
Hades wondered aloud.
Was this thing imitating the old man all along? For what?
Chomafuba! A wall of searing, pure white light descended on Hades from behind, crashing into him, a typhoon of furious, raw energy, burning every point on his body, the roar of power filling his ears and drowning out his own bellow of impotent fury, as he was carried off into the far distance, still enveloped in the ferocious glow. Master Roshi stood in the doorway, hands palmed down over a second metal canister. Sweat poured down his face. This was the container enchanted by my sister. It is merely a channel. Break it if you like, Hades. Your power is gone now. Even the souls already in you have been released, he gasped, falling to one knee. Break rushed over to him, supporting the drained old man. Stay with us! Stay with us! I'm sorry, he breathed. Your task is still difficult, but now not impossible. His eyes began to glaze over. This is the third time I've gone out this way. I guess no more safety net. You know, the hardest thing was getting Oolong to talk convincingly like me. I thought I'd be dead by now. Oh, sister. You took so much of the strain to give me these minutes you knew I need to say my goodbyes. Thank you. Hold on! Oob pleaded, rushing over with 18 close behind. I'm sorry I had to involve him, but little time. So little to work with. Listen, Hades is strong, but you are the successors of our hope. Your parents, your teachers. You can overcome anything with the same spirit they always did. He shuddered. I leave the rest to you. Don't. Break trailed off. Don't leave us? What kind of stupid statement is that? It's not like he can help it. It's our fault. We couldn't handle it. Oob stood up, silently turning to face the horizon, where he could feel Hades' ki recovering. And took away his regeneration ability, but we still can't damage him at our current level, he said softly. We have to! Break growled. We can't let this all be for nothing! I know. Oob took a deep breath. Roshi and Oolong gave everything to give us one chance. I'm not about to waste it. Let me handle this guy. I need to go at him, not holding anything back. You were holding back your power before? 18 asked with a start. No. I don't actually know if I can raise my power high enough, but I was afraid the strain might be too much. It wasn't my body holding back, but my mind. Oob grew calm again, forcing himself to relax. But I have to live up to their example. I'm not afraid to give it my all this time, even if it kills me. Break stood, putting a hand on his shoulder and pulling him back. No, we can't lose anybody else, not now! There's no choice! Oob insisted, pulling away. If we lose, everyone dies. Now Goku doesn't know I can do this. Hell, I don't know if I can do this. I wasn't desperate enough at first. And then he showed us he was immortal, so trying it would have been pointless until now. 18 took a wary step back. What are you going to try? Suddenly, Oob tensed up. He's coming back. Hades threw out a massive crater as he landed, clothes scorched into disarray, aura blazing around him.
You've taken my immortality!
He shrieked.
Unforgivable! Unforgivable! Well, it won't matter to you. You'll never be able to scratch me, especially not at my full power!
His outfit burst asunder as he suddenly put on another foot in height, mask melding with his face to form a leering, demonic, liquid metal visage, bat wings erupting from his back and unfolding. Shadows curled and twisted about his feet, light from the unnatural sun above glinting off razor-hooked claws. Full power, Oob spat. Stupid concept. I've been fighting up beyond my full power ever since I started using the Kaioken. Saying full power is like admitting to your limits. And if Goku's taught me anything, never let your limits define you! Huh? Break flinched away from the blistering red corona enveloping Oob's trembling form. His power! His scream continued to rise as his aura grew in intensity. Oob's eyes gleamed, focused totally on Hades, ignoring the critical stress his body was undergoing. Blood dripped from his mouth. Tiny cuts opened up on his straining muscles. Scorch marks appeared where his own power burned its way into his skin. The entire landscape shook under the force of it. Geysers of lava erupting around the group as Oob, still building power, warped the very earth beneath him.
Do what you want!
Hades yelled, features twisting in rage.
There's no comparison between us!
He lunged, throwing a punch. Oob's hand shot up, catching it and just barely holding it back. Hades' eyes widened.
Is this... You can't be. Even for just a moment. This boy can't have achieved demigod ki.
You're right! Oob hissed, holding in a mouthful of blood. Something inside was failing. There's no comparison at all! Spirit! No way! 18 gasped. Kaioken! Oob smashed Hades' attack aside, becoming the center of a column of living flame, and barreling into the Shadow Dragon, sending them both arcing through the sky, Hades' wings flailing in vain before crashing back down to the ground. Oob thrust both hands into Hades' face and, screaming in pain and fury, poured wave after wave of energy into the roaring dragon, rending the metal from his face and obliterating the flesh beneath. Oob fell back limply, flame extinguished, feeling organs rupture and muscles tear. Roshi, Oolong, Baba, what you did, it wasn't for nothing. Oob! Break was crouching over him, feeling for her pulse. He weakly pushed her away. You gotta go. Don't have much time. But you... I'll live. He smiled painfully. Something like this happened when I tried the Kaioken on Cell. Turns out I got more than just power from Boo. Break nodded, understanding. Regeneration? Sort of. I can't regrow limbs like he could or anything. I'm still killable, but internal damage like this? These little cuts? Half an hour or an hour or two maybe. I'll be fine. Energy doesn't magically come back though. I'll still be too tired to fight. I understand. She stood, turning to 18. Let's keep moving. He's right, we need to hurry. The middle of nowhere. Raditz now held the dragon radar, marching along at a good pace and flicking his eyes from the device to the ruined landscape to make sure they were keeping their course. Goku, walking behind him, was humming a merry tune while juggling 4 Dragon Balls. Man, we're getting close now, he said happily. These last couple were easy. Yeah, Raditz agreed. Almost got to the 5th. It should be right up here. Hey, are those glowing? Goku nodded enthusiastically, balancing them in a wobbling pile on one finger. Yep, they like each other's company, I think. You think maybe they were lonely before? Man, were you born this simple, or... Raditz fell silent suddenly, scanning the horizon. There's somebody strong around here. but I'm not sure. I can't get a fix on their energy for some reason. Goku had already stowed away the Dragon Balls. They're moving too fast, he deduced instantly, never stopping or going in a straight line for too long. Pretty clever, and it must be tough to do it for this long without getting tired. Goku, Raditz decided, edging backwards. Let's get the Dragon Ball now and get out of... What, this? A playful voice called from behind them. They swiveled to see another armored Saiyan sitting atop a metal fence, holding up a Dragon Ball. I just glanced at your detector thing as I ran by just now. Led me right to it, she explained. I guess these are important or something, right? So they don't know about the Dragon Balls, Raditz realized. Well, that's one advantage. Who are you, anyway? What a poor memory you've got, she smirked. My name's Fasha, and your father sent me. Thought you might like to know. You're part of his squad? Raditz asked. Come on, you at least have to help us. What's even going on around here? Trust me, I am helping you. Now, she stood up, yawning. Try to keep up, kiddies. This is lesson 1. With that, she took off in a burst of speed and fury, speeding off into the distance. Raditz gasped involuntarily. So fast! I could barely even see... sorry, try and catch up! Came Goku's voice as the younger sibling raced past Raditz, dumping the Dragon Balls at his feet and speeding away after Fasha. A few experimental leaps later, and based on his observations of the day so far, Goku managed to get the hang of sustained flight and soon found himself gaining ground. He's fast, she observed, pulling a wide circle and landing in the middle of a dusty plain, waiting for Goku to hit the ground ungracefully opposite her. Give me that Dragon Ball, he demanded. Sorry, but I can't mess around right now. She grinned. This isn't messing around. At your current level, you'll never match Vegeta. If you can beat us, though, fine. If I gotta take you down too. The young Saiyan rushed in, leaping to the attack. But though her feet remained planted on the ground and her arms remained folded, something swiped out and smashed him across the face. Her tail, he realized, as he rolled with the momentum, rising and stepping back in. She casually dodged his punches, however, avoiding each attack with the tiniest of movements. Really? That's all? Goku took a step back, frowning. Something doesn't add up. He couldn't quite remember why, but something to do with the seemingly relatively small power difference between her and Broly just didn't seem right. You're right, she replied. It doesn't. This place, this time, they aren't normal. But that's not important right now. Her arm whipped out in an arc, an energy beam to the chest, staggering him back and bringing him to his knees. Hey, he coughed. If you're supposed to be making me stronger, how's killing me going to help? Because your true power shows itself in moments of desperation, she answered, raining more painful blows down on his back and shoulders. You're going to have to learn that your physical condition means nothing if you can summon up enough ki. Gah! He hissed, feeling himself about to collapse. Fine, damn it! Her next blow missed its mark, smashing a crater into the ground beneath, and Goku's foot planted itself in her face, throwing her back. She caught herself against the ground one-handed, springing to her feet and shaking her head to clear the dizziness. That's more like it, she said, grinning. That's the kind of power he needs. He turned to face her, panting. Yeah, I reckon a couple more like that'll take you down. Maybe. Without warning, her arm moved in a blur, and something flew out past Goku. The Dragon Ball, he realized as it passed him. He spun, diving for it, and in that instant, an energy blast took him in the back, taking him down. Next lesson, Fasha growled. Think. If you'd attacked me instead, you might have won. Then you could have gone to collect the ball at your leisure. Seconds after these words left her mouth, her scouter registered a new power level approaching, and moments later, Raditz landed in front of his younger brother, checking that Goku was merely unconscious before picking up the Dragon Ball. He stuffed it inside the same bag as the other 4, then put them, along with the radar, by his sibling. Alright, you said you're helping us, right? I'm making you stronger, yeah, Fasha replied. I'm giving the two of you a crash course, let's say. Raditz glanced back down at Goku, who was twitching slightly. Oh sure, he looks fantastic. He'll learn from this fight and do better in the next. Besides, you know Saiyans get stronger by coming back from the brink of death. She launched herself at him, forcing him back with a relentless chain of physical attacks, one slipping through his defenses every few seconds. He swung a counterattack, but she was seemingly instantly a couple of feet to the right, yawning. Damn! So, if I fail this lesson of yours, what? He spat. You die, obviously, she said, shrugging. There'd be no point sparing you, since if you were that weak, Vegeta'd kill you anyway. She advanced, her fist coming down again and staggering him away. Huh. Even knowing that, his strength hasn't improved. Maybe he really doesn't have the potential. Raditz took a couple of stumbling steps backwards, still propelled by the momentum of the blow. And Goku? Well, if you fail, I suppose I'll kill him too, Fasha decided. At least I'll make it quick. She was interrupted by an urgent beeping, her scouter registering a sudden increase. She began to back away, suddenly wary. Too late, she realized. Well, why didn't you say so? As she jumped, attempting to get out of range, a fist slammed upwards into her stomach, followed by an explosion of energy that hurled her up and away in a wide arc, eventually crashing back to the ground several miles away. She coughed, smiling slightly as the blood pooled on the ground below her. There you go. That's what you needed. Shortly, Raditz held up his hand triumphantly, the result of a minute's rummaging in the dirt, the 6th Dragon Ball, gleaming out from between his fingers. Only one left. Awesome! Goku grinned. Ugh, man, I'm really getting hungry. Yeah, me too. Well, anyway, last one's not too far from here. Huh? Raditz paused, tapping the radar. It's, getting closer. Pretty fast. I guess one of them has it. Sure enough, a flying figure soon came into view, stopping 100 or so meters overhead. Nodding to each other, the brothers flew up to meet them, and stopped in shock as soon as they saw their face. Yeah, I figured you'd at least remember me, Bardock said, grinning. A long silence followed, finally broken by Goku slowly raising a hand to point at their father, frowning and declaring, Yeah, you look just like me. That's kind of funny. Raditz kicked him. That's our father, idiot! Ow! Don't blame me, I never met him! Goku whined. Raditz blinked. You didn't. No, now that you mention it, I remember that. He turned back to Bardock. Dad, Bardock smiled warmly, holding up the final Dragon Ball. I can tell you've both grown a lot today. Fasha did her job well, and I'm proud of all of you. His face fell. But I'm afraid I have the same task as her. You're still not quite at the level you need to be. Raditz held up his hands. Huh? Don't tell me you're going to fight us too, Dad. Bardock nodded slowly. I'm afraid so. But it's essential you get stronger, and quickly. Alright. Goku sniffed, raising his fists. I know what you're trying to do for us, and I'll do my best. Thank you. Raditz smiled in assent. Right. Thank you. Then we'll fight for this. Bardock tossed the Dragon Ball high into the air. Do me proud, my sons. Now, show me what you... His eyes widened, and a low gurgle escaped his mouth as a vivid purple energy beam pierced through his chest from behind, shattering his armor. Spasming, he lost his power to fly and plummeted to the ground. Vegeta, shaking the smoke from his hand, floated up to them, smirking from ear to ear. Holding his hand up, he caught the Dragon Ball Bardock had thrown on its return journey. I had a feeling he was trying to help you behind my back, you know. Ah well. I shall forever treasure the look on your faces just now. Vegeta! You! Goku wailed, charging the prince. Vegeta merely chuckled, clenching his fists and grunting slightly as a new form of energy welled within him, then burst to the surface in a blaze of yellow. Goku paid this no heed, colliding with Vegeta with furious strength, hammering him with blows from all sides, with every limb, at every angle. A few seconds of this exhausted him, and he drifted to a halt, panting. His opponent was unfazed, not harmed in the slightest. You should pay attention, child. Attacks on that level are nothing to a Super Saiyan. A single elbow strike dropped Goku, sending him falling after his father. Raditz swept in, catching him two-handed and laying him gently down on the ground. Vegeta touched down behind him, rolling his shoulders and flexing his aura. So you two are disappointment after all. Really, I can hardly believe my subordinates were defeated by the pair of you. And yet, you've made a mistake. Raditz said calmly, facing Vegeta with his eyes closed. And it'll be your last. Oh? Vegeta smirked down at the Saiyan child. And what might that be? If you'd been paying attention, you'd know. A new aspect burst to life within Raditz's ki. It's dangerous to jog my memory! A surge of golden light filled his body, escaping from every pore and transforming him into a second Super Saiyan. But you went ahead and reminded me this form existed. A bolt of hurled ki to the chest slid Raditz's back. Vegeta laughed, advancing. You think you can defeat my experience with that newly awakened power? It doesn't matter what you do. You'll never be adequate, Raditz! He threw a direct punch at Raditz's head, aiming to take it off completely. But the other Super Saiyan twisted to the side at the last instant, receiving only a slice up the side of his face. In the same movement, he brought his leg up in a high kick at Vegeta, who span around it, bringing his knee up into Raditz's face and throwing him back through a building. Still just low-class trash. Raditz growled, hauling himself up and pushing chunks of rubble away. I'm not weak! Vegeta ran at him, and this time Raditz caught his leg, pushing him back and feinting with an uppercut. I'm not! Vegeta went to block it, realizing his mistake too late and receiving an elbow to the face, nose breaking with a sickening, more satisfying to Raditz, crunch. Gah! He hissed. I'll kill! Raditz's offensive continued, and Vegeta was forced to back away, all his efforts focused on staving off the ceaseless attacks, the whole process accompanied by various unprintable threats and insults from the harried prince. This is what you wanted, isn't it? Raditz snarled. A good fight? Well, are you happy? Basta! Ugh. Vegeta doubled over at another thunderous blow, swaying backwards a few steps. Raditz held up one hand, holding the 7th Dragon Ball aloft. Thank you for your cooperation. What? Vegeta spluttered. When did you take... A burst of ki took him off his feet, and he lay still, groaning. Raditz sighed, letting the raging, burning power leave him, placing the Dragon Ball with the others. Goku was sitting up, rubbing his head. Hey, you turned Super Saiyan? The words again simply sprang to mind. Yeah, but I couldn't hold on to it. Come on, let's do it. Whatever it is we're supposed to do. Goku stood, clapping his hands together in front of him, closing his eyes and clearing his mind. This is something else we knew once. Remember. His eyes snapped open, his arms raised to the sky. Eternal Dragon, rise to fulfill our wish! I call you out, Shenron! A column of light burst forth, spiraling out into the sky and beginning to form the shape of a great serpentine beast. Not so fast! Came a harsh voice. Vegeta, on his feet again, still transformed, voice hoarse, hunched over, but ki still terrifyingly large. I will not accept this! I am a warrior of the highest class! These lowlifes are nothing, and they will not defeat... His fists clenched, unimaginable power building around them with the sole purpose of ripping the brothers apart. My warrior's pride demands victory, and I will have... Abruptly, thick arms gripped the vengeful prince from behind. You'll have nothing but what you deserve! Bardock hissed, ignoring the blood pouring from his grievous wound. Vegeta's eyes widened in shock. Chew! Bardock glanced over at his sons. You too. You haven't just grown stronger than I am. You're far better men than I ever was. And I'm so proud of you. Father! Raditz called weakly. Don't leave me! Not again! Bardock closed his eyes. Go, my sons. Live! With that, he took off, blasting into the upper atmosphere with the prince in tow. You can't hold me! Vegeta snapped. Once I've gathered my strength, your little power will be nothing to a Super Saiyan! Is that so? Bardock gritted his teeth, flashes of gold licking around the edges of his aura, streaking through his hair. What? Vegeta yelped. You're on the verge of transforming! But Bardock doesn't consider himself pure of heart by any means. Unless... Bardock! You don't mean to... If the only way to defeat you is to become pure, Bardock hissed. The only way for me to do that is to wipe my slate, to finally pay for my sins! He's going to transform in the instant of his own self-destruction! Vegeta realized, desperately struggling to escape as they climbed rapidly higher. The kind of energy that twin event will release. I'll be killed for sure! Why would you do this? He shrieked. Why? For their tomorrow, Vegeta. Bardock replied, energy building to new heights. You wouldn't understand. He took a deep breath, gathering all his power, physical and mental, and preparing himself. For tomorrow! Dad. Raditz grasped at the empty air, staring up at the gigantic explosion of golden power that filled the sky above them. Shenron, now fully formed, glared down at the pair of them.
Speak your wish, you who have summoned me.
Goku stood in front of it, totally focused on the task at hand. Wish. Huh. He took a deep breath. This wasn't exactly remembering, like everything else they'd relearned today. This was more of an instinct. Too many things were slightly wrong, didn't add up. It wasn't a dream, it was far too real and coherent for that. But it wasn't right. It was real, but it wasn't his reality. He nodded, his decision made, and lifted his head towards the dragon. I want to wake up! Raditz opened his eyes. It remained dark, however. He sighed. Goku, get off me. His brother yawned, rolling off of where he'd landed on the older Saiyan in a heap on the dark stone floor. Raditz stood, dusting himself off. Well, we seem to be adults again. No tail. And my memories are back. Where are we? Goku asked, rising as well. I mean, we're not wherever that last place was, but we don't seem to be back home yet. How can you tell? Look at the sky. Goku leant on the bottom ledge of a window-like opening in the wall. Don't get that shade of red on Earth. Footsteps sounded on the floor behind them. They turned to see a large, otherworldly being descending the stairs that appeared to be the only exit to the small room they were currently in. Goku gave a start. Hey, that's an Alfheim drone! Gohan described him to me, pretty detailed from his travels. This thing matches everything he said. A small hole slid open on its face, and noises emerged that arranged themselves into words in their ears.
Greetings, travelers. I imagine you have a lot of questions.
Also, they didn't talk, Goku added. He mentioned that, so this is new. Raditz elbowed him aside, facing the creature. So what he's trying to say is, yes, a lot of questions. Answers would be good.
I will explain on the way.
It spoke in its strange manner.
But we must go now. My master is expecting you.
At least tell us where we are. It paused.
You will not have heard of it. This world is called Svartalfheim. It is located,
It added.
in the 13th universe.
Fasha wiped a trail of blood off of her face, staring off towards the horizon where the pyrotechnics were just beginning to die down. Those kids really did it. They got out. And Bardock? He always liked to have the last word. Well, she closed her eyes, breathing in deeply as the world faded around her. This place has served its purpose. Back now. Back to sleep. Next already. King Yemma snarled, stamping another load of paperwork. What's with the sudden rush from all over the universe? And, that's a large file, he said, gulping as a huge leaflet smacked down onto his desk. Long, eventful life? You could say that, a familiar voice replied. Yemma looked up in surprise. Baba? He leaned forwards. You're not guiding anyone this time? You really... Yes, my turn has finally come, she said wearily. Do you know what's happening? Only that I'm suddenly swamped, he said, shrugging his expansive shoulders. I'm not entirely sure myself, she muttered. But it's something, bigger than all of us, almost beyond our comprehension. Svartalfheim, the 13th universe. Okay, so first question. Goku asked the drone as he followed it down the twisting, winding mountain path. We just came out of some weird, kinda real world where...
My master observed this.
It answered curtly, cutting him off.
A full recount will not be necessary.
So do you know what it was? Raditz called, slouching along slightly behind the two of them with his hands in his pockets.
It is a form of trial you underwent while passing through the void between universes.
The drone replied.
I shall explain in full. You were forcefully ejected from your home universe into the void, which is composed of what is known as void stuff, a material that holds the potential to create universes, if directed appropriately. Most beings, if thrust into the void, would be immediately overcome by its power and destroyed in an instant. You two, however, are both strong in body and in mind. Your extraordinary spirits caused a reaction in the void stuff and temporarily molded it to your will. Of course, you do not have the power to create entire universes, so a form of small-scale pocket dimension was formed, as a protective shield around you against the nothingness that surrounded you.
Goku frowned. So why was it, like it was?
You were already unconscious and moments from death when you created the space. No conscious thought or direction was given, and inspiration was instead drawn from your deep past. My master detected you at this point and steered you towards a goal-oriented situation. Normally, only gods can cross universes, but if a mortal succeeds in creating what you did, by completing some sort of goal within that world, they can propel themselves back towards a reality, the nearest reality anyway, which in your case was this one.
That's a little complicated, Goku muttered, scratching his head. It does make some sense though, Raditz supplied, catching up. If it was formed from our memories, I probably supplied all the Saiyans, all of them older than us, often stronger at first. I mean, that sounds like a lot of bad memories of my childhood. And early adulthood too, with Nappa and Vegeta. Goku nodded. Yeah, and the Dragon Ball hunt was probably me. That's pretty deeply ingrained. Not to mention constantly growing stronger and overcoming those stronger enemies. I'm guessing the location was a mix. It was like Earth, where I grew up. And I grew up on battlefields, so it was all ruined. Raditz finished. Still, we met people who'd been dead for years. Most of them died again. Did they really?
I cannot say whether it was real or not.
The drone told them.
I do not know, and neither does my master.
Yeah, well, while we're asking questions, let's talk about you and this master. Raditz decided, a sweeping arm movement indicating the red-lit mountainous landscape. Who exactly are they? And 13th universe? I thought there were 12. The drone shook its head.
There are many more than that, or the Eternal would starve. The 12 you know are merely close enough together that their gods can meet and communicate, like the planets in the solar system. The Master deduced this when the Eternal attacked this universe.
Goku came to a halt. Wait, you mean, what's happening back home? That happened here once? You're still here, right? So you won?
We did not lose.
The drone answered. Emotion was difficult to read in its face or voice, but sadness was definitely present in that sentence.
When the Eternal came, the Master, the Hakaishin of this universe, fought long and hard, but could not prevent its arrival. The group of shadow dragons it sent before were slain, but not before they could accumulate enough negative energy to allow the Eternal's coming. My master knew then that even if he gathered the combined might of all 13 gods of destruction, he could not have prevailed.
Well, don't keep me in suspense. What happened? Raditz snapped as the drone paused. What'd he do?
A terrible, evil thing. The only thing he could do.
It raised its head to the heavens.
He had learned something important from one of the shadow dragons, you see. That the Eternal feeds off the combined life force of every being in a universe when it consumes one, which is how it sustained itself. So he denied it this food source. A scorched earth tactic.
Raditz couldn't help but tremble slightly. He killed. The drone nodded.
Most of them. He wiped out almost all life in his own universe to save those few that he left. The only alternative was that they would all die. He hated himself for it. He still does. But there was no other way.
That's horrible. How could he? Goku trailed off. They carried on walking in silence for a while, finally rounding the corner and coming in view of an enormous, perfectly flat plateau that stretched out for miles in every direction. The drone stepped onto it, gesturing them to follow. So, Raditz chanced. How come we haven't heard of this 13th universe then?
It is forbidden,
The drone explained.
My master's tactic worked, and the Eternal gave up on its attempt. To consume this universe would require more energy than it would gain from the remaining life forms. Some other, further off universe caught its eye, and drifted off through the void. Meanwhile, though, the Hakaishin had observed my master's solution, but knew not the cause, so declared him mad and sealed off this universe from the rest, trapping him here.
It turned to stare pointedly at Raditz with its eyes, rows of blinking red orbs.
The seal blocks divine beings such as him from passing through, but he can send portions of his power to seize on certain opportunities, creating a mindless avatar of himself that wreaks destruction, unintentionally doing his work for him. In this way, he hoped to enact his solution on the other 12 universes before the Eternal's inevitable return, to spare them complete destruction.
Seems that didn't work so well, Raditz shot back.
No thanks to you.
It replied. To respond to his dumbfounded stare, it explained.
You have met and fought with one of these avatars, defeated it even, and possibly doomed your universe in the process.
Wait, you don't mean... Something materialized, shifted, Gohan would have recognized, into physical form behind them, feet tapping against the smooth ground.
Indeed.
while my official title has been changed to the Fallen amongst the other gods. You may know me better by my true name. It chuckled. That is, Janemba. Inferno Gauntlet. Break-in 18 had been lucky. After only a few minutes traversing the boiling wasteland, they had located the door. To be fair, once you were in its general vicinity, it wasn't hard to miss. A glowing, pure white rectangle hanging in the air contrasted quite sharply against the dull blacks, reds, and grays of the landscape. Good thing we're almost through, 18 muttered, having long thrown off her jacket. This heat is ridiculous. Break was similarly shedding an outer layer as she responded. Aren't you an android? Don't you have, I don't know, a thing? The back and forth banter was forced. They just had to watch friends die before them, and needed any kind of idle communication to stop themselves from thinking about it. What kind of thing? Like, a temperature thing? No, I don't have a... Something sparked in the air between them. A tiny energy bolt, Break realized, so fast she could only see a brief flash of light, and a small impact appeared on 18's forehead. Her eyes rolled back in her head, and she fell to the ground, out cold. Ah, I couldn't sense her energy, so I wanted to see if she was worth worrying about. Evidently not. The speaker, Break realized, was now standing a few feet behind her. She leapt away, turning to face him. This shadow dragon, at least in his humanoid form, she had learned by now that their true appearance only showed itself at full power, was armored from head to toe, dark plate decorated with vivid flame patterns. A helmet obscured his face, casting a shadow over all but a pair of glaring yellow eyes. Your group actually managed to kill Hades. Remarkable. But I don't think you're the one that did it, not with your power. Shut up! She growled, powering back up to Super Saiyan 3. I've got nothing to say to you people! She sped at him, feigning a high swing before ducking low and aiming a sweep at his knee. However, some kind of strange object sprung out of the ground, her fist smashing against it and rebounding painfully, leaving the projection of reflective, dark material unmarked. She jumped back, knuckles bleeding from the impact. The hell was that? The shadow dragon folded his arms. This was a substance known as Hakaishin. It's the hardest material in the universe. And I, Hephaestus Shenron, can create and manipulate it as I choose. Didn't ask, but thanks, Break grunted. It's what this whole tower is made of. I constructed it in seconds, he continued. You may have noticed back in Eden Palace, energy blasts and the like left the walls unharmed. Hakaishin is a remarkable substance. It can be broken, of course. He raised one clawed finger, using a mental impulse to increase the height of the Hakaishin spur he'd blocked Break's attack with, until it was level with his shoulders, then lightly tapped it, shattering the entire shape. But not with strength alone. Without the proper technique, only a true god can destroy it. Fortunately for me, my skill and technique are unparalleled. I even dabble in dimensional manipulation, allowing me to create outdoor landscapes like this within much smaller exteriors, such as the tower. Man, do you love the sound of your own voice? Break sighed. Are you going to fight me or what? Of course not, Hephaestus retorted. With your insignificant power, I do not consider you an opponent. He refolded his arms. Bastard! She leapt into the air, coming down towards him foot first, but more Hakaishin burst up from the ground, intercepting her. This time, she expected it, flinching at the last instant and managing to half-twist out of the way, only receiving a graze down the side of her leg as she somersaulted away, skidding to the rest on the ground and springing back at him. I'll consider you an opponent. Hephaestus droned as she circled rapidly, his mobile shield doing the same to keep up. When you can move me from this spot, you'll probably just tire yourself out and collapse, and all I have to do is wait for the Eternal to arrive. This isn't working. Break realized as another punch was painfully deflected. Gotta fight smarter. She came around for another attack, but just as Hephaestus' shield was raised again, she swung both arms down, using a two-handed blast to fling herself over his head and come down behind him. Not taking the extra time it would take to turn, she used the same motion it took to stand to throw a back kick, but felt the same jarring impact as she struck his barrier. She rolled away, clutching her leg and hissing with pain. That was a good plan, Hephaestus admitted. It would have worked if it weren't for the insurmountable difference in our reaction times. No matter what you try, you're too slow. He stood still in the same nonchalant position, awaiting her next attempt, columns of Hakaishin rising and falling around him, preparing to block her next attack. Damn! I just can't get past it! She straightened up, frowning. But he said he didn't break it with just strength. There's gotta be a way. Guess I gotta find out how. This is going to hurt. She stood up, facing him directly. Right. So your shield is as fast as you? Certainly.
It will always block you in time.
Good to know. She charged in, forcing as much ki as possible into one fist, or flaring outwards and leaving twin burning jets of gold in her wake as she rocketed at the Shadow Dragon, swinging a punch directly into a rapidly forming wall of Hakaishin. Her energy wave flared, lighting up the surface before rebounding off of it, sending her sliding backwards, arms shaking from the impact, blood trailing from multiple scrapes on her hand.
This is hardly a laughing matter, Hephaestus snorted. You charged my defenses head on, and suffered the consequences.
Break drew her arm back again. And not that I tell you this, but I also sent that energy wave right into the Hakaishin block, then felt its feedback as it bounced back and hit me. Like echolocation, where bats or whatever bounce sound off something to learn its shape. She smiled. Based on the way the energy came back, I figured out your shield structure, and it's got pretty evenly spaced weak points. They're just so small that a normal attack wouldn't normally hit them with any more than a tiny fraction of its full strength. But if I get the pattern right, and just hit the weak points with everything, it might work. She began to form energy spheres in both hands, keeping her eyes fixed on her target. You want to know something? Hephaestus sighed.
What?
I'm a quick learner. She fired, splitting each sphere into dozens of narrow, hyper-focused emerald beams, filling the air around Hephaestus with a matrix of crisscrossing lines of light. His head flicked back and forth as his shields raced to react.
What's this supposed to accomplish? They're simply glancing off, as always.
Are they? She clenched her fists, sending a signal to each tiny, concentrated energy projectile that was now buried deep within the Hakaishin barriers, having burrowed in through the minute structural weaknesses. On cue, the attacks all detonated at once, blasting great ruptures through all Hephaestus' barriers and thoroughly cracking them all. Now, while he's still surprised, Break flung her hands forwards, following up with an explosive ki that shattered the cracked barriers, sending chunks of the crumbling material flying in all directions, accompanied by all obscuring clouds of dust around the Shadow Dragon. Hephaestus, already shocked by this development, gave another start. Her ki vanished? He suppressed a yelp of surprise as Break's arms gripped him around the waist, her Super Saiyan 3 power resurfacing in an instant. Something I've been practicing. Transforming quicker! She flung herself up and backwards, dragging Hephaestus off his chosen spot on the ground and bringing them both crashing into the dirt a few feet away with her on top, before pushing away, driving a punch down into his shadowed face to propel herself upwards. She arced in the air, backflipping and landing smoothly in front of her prone enemy. Well, she drew herself up, letting her aura flow around her and raising one fist. I moved you from your spot. Even got a hit in. Hephaestus picked himself up slowly, shaking his head and rubbing his jaw.
Yes, most impressive, he rumbled. Very well. As you wish, I shall consider you my opponent. You have won yourself the honor of a warrior's death!
He stalked towards her, eyes burning beneath his helmet. Before she could react, he raised one finger. It flashed, and something bit into her shoulder, staggering her back a step. Feeling a trickle of blood run down her arm from the wound, she jumped, narrowly avoiding a second burst that shattered the ground beneath her. She angled herself down towards him, swinging a kick at a joint between his armor plates, but his hand shot up to intercept, his extended finger reaching out and blocking her leg unflinchingly. She kept up her momentum, spinning away as his hand slashed out at her, a diagonal slice down her back, tearing through fabric and grazing skin. Lucky, not quite a direct hit. She landed, turning back to face him and firing a full-force ki blast as tall as she was. His eyes narrowed, and he sent another burst of ki through his same index finger, easily overwhelming Break's attack, and smacking her full force in the stomach, doubling her over and driving the air from her lungs. She put out a hand to steady herself, gasping in ragged breaths. He did all that with one finger!
You shouldn't be surprised, Hephaestus gloated. I'm sure by now you don't need me to tell you the difference between mortal and demigod ki. He frowned. Although, to be honest, I didn't expect you to survive my attacks for even this long. Not with the power I sensed from you when you first entered my tower. But I think I understand. You've come the furthest of your group, and fought against 3 shadow dragons whose power far outstrips your own. All these battles at this extremely high level must be making you stronger.
Not that I should get my hopes up, Break thought grimly. Not when I'm doing this badly and he's still just playing around. Still, getting stronger, that's the thing. Gogeta and Oob were pretty spectacular. Theoretically, I can too. There's supposed to be the potential for this whole demigod crap within the Super Saiyan form. But hell, it's not just getting mad. I mean, I can do that. It's a different kind of emotional trigger. There's a kind of purity in that sort of anger. Like someone becoming a Super Saiyan for the first time all over again. She circled Hephaestus slowly, keeping both eyes on him. But I never went through that. I was born with the potential. While that helped me get real strong at an early age, it means I've never experienced the kind of depth of feeling this kind of power-up would take. She resumed her stance, narrowing her eyes. But I guess it doesn't matter. Too many people have given everything already. Whether winning seems possible or not, I can't do anything but keep going. Summoning up her power, she charged back in towards the Shadow Dragon, seeing him raising his finger to block. Not this crap again! Growling, she followed through with her uppercut, smashing his hand out of the way. Snake-like, his other arm whipped around, catching her wrist and stopping her punch inches from his face. You made me use my whole hand. She really is getting stronger. If this continues, she might become a challenging opponent if I keep playing around like this. Enough then. But since I've got hold of your arm... He raised one foot, planting it in the small of her back and shoving away, twisting her arm in the opposite direction. Bray clenched her teeth, trying to wrest herself free. Damn! It's gonna break! The pressure was suddenly relieved, and Brake dropped to the floor, rolling to her feet and rubbing her aching arm. The day's exertion was suddenly catching up with her, so she powered down from her transformed state. She looked up to see Hephaestus, now facing someone new. Pan? Got back as fast as I could, Pan answered grimly. Too late, for some. Brake noticed that Pan was wearing a new set of clothes, best described as a high-tech workout outfit, but decided not to ask at the moment. What was important, though, was... So, did it work? Nah, Pan shook her head. You guys seem pretty beat up. Let me take this guy. Can you? Don't know. Hephaestus gave a weary shrug. You can't. I'll just state it as plainly as that. In fact, I doubt you'll even touch me. I prefer not to fight you, so please go find something else to do. Brake realized something. Pan! Careful! He can make Kachin shields. You gotta fire a key into their structural weaknesses and blow them up from the inside. Thanks. Got it. Of course, the main upshot of that is that he probably won't even bother to use the shields, Pan thought. Alright, let's do this. She flung her arms out to the side, letting out a sudden yell and slowly drawing them back in, as if pulling a great weight. Steam began to rise from her arms, back, and shoulders, eventually solidifying into a flaming golden aura, illuminating her as if from within. There it is. Brake recognized Pan's unique transformation from occasional sparring matches. Pan, eyes blank white, red-tinted hair flowing wildly in the unnatural, warped gravity her power was creating, made the first move. She launched a volley of energy beams, arms pumping backwards and forwards as she continued the barrage for several seconds. Hephaestus merely lowered his head slightly, focusing his ki in the blasts were deflected before they reached him, veering off and crashing to the floor, throwing up great clouds of dust. Pan, however, had been expecting this, and used this as cover, suppressing her power and dashing in close before powering back up into her pseudo-Super Saiyan state, readying herself for a close-range assault. However, she was stopped short at Hephaestus' eyes glaring through the dust cloud at her, twin yellow spotlights fixed on her position. Your friend tried this trick already, he snapped. I won't fall for it this time! He clenched his fists, a ripple of power spreading out through their surroundings and blowing the dust away in an instant. Well now, what do you think of my full power? He noticed, with some satisfaction, Pan backing away, intimidated. Oh, but where are my manners? My name is Hephaestus Shenron, and I am the architect of this tower. Now sitting a good distance from the battle, Brake puzzled over this. There was no appearance change this time, and he's about as strong as Guy in Hades, but they're supposed to get stronger as we progress. Is this really his full power? Can't be. He's insanely strong. Pan drew herself up. Doesn't matter! I gotta get past you! Burning her aura brighter, she stepped forwards for a quick strike, and was struck by a dizzying impact to the side of her face, spinning her around a half-turn and sending her stumbling away several steps. I never saw him move. Just a blur. You're tougher than I gave you credit for, Hephaestus conceded. I was hoping that would take your head off and get this mess over with. Still, you're far too slow to respond. He twitched again, and another invisible blow crashed into Pan's side, sliding her back straight through a large boulder. Gah! She struggled to regain her balance, but an instant later, his hand was at her throat. Really, I find all this fighting quite dull, Hephaestus said flatly, tightening his grip. Pan choked, clawing at his hand, unable to break the hold. Her vision swam, slowly fading towards blackness. Stay conscious! Stay! Too much. Sorry, everybody. Sorry. Mom. Dad. Hephaestus nodded slowly, dumping her onto the floor and lowering his arm. Only Dad isn't around anymore to be sorry to. Is this how I repay everything he's done? Hephaestus turned away, striding back towards his previous spot guarding the door.
I would find it distasteful to finish 2 already beaten opponents. Go and do what you will with your universe's final hours.
Wait! Pan gasped, climbing up onto one knee, then pushing herself into a stand, straightening up with an explosive burst of power, light flaring out in all directions.
What's this?
Hephaestus froze, wary.
The other one's power was increasing gradually, but this one, she should be nearing death, but hasn't shown any power like this before.
He turned to face her fully.
Fine, you seek a warrior's death? Then come at me!
Try it! Pan leapt at him, and he raised an arm in a leisurely fashion to strike first as before. But this time, she was faster, and her punch struck first. He barely got his other hand up in time to block, and was still hurled back several meters by the impact, feet throwing out trails of sparks as he ground to a halt, arm trembling.
This strength, to produce an attack that I, a shadow dragon, could feel. It's almost painful, in fact.
You've realized, haven't you? Pan said, smiling. My dad used to talk about the potential for demigod ki hidden in the Super Saiyans. I'm on the verge of awakening to it. Helps that my power is pretty much geared towards rapidly increasing, not relying on set stages and subforms like other Super Saiyans.
It doesn't matter! Almost demigod ki is no match for the real thing!
Hephaestus shouted, hands snapping out and blasting Pan back with a powerful ki.
I'll kill you before you can fulfill it!
Coming to a halt, Pan raised her head, blood dripping from her mouth. Sure you can do it?
What? How did you survive?
He growled.
I put all my power into that!
Yeah. She raised her fists, standing back up. But I saw it this time.
What?
It's not just a flash of light anymore. I can see your movements. And even though it was too fast to dodge, I had time to brace myself and harden my own ki in the area it struck. She flung her aura outwards again, the roar of power building to new heights. Now! Again! Hephaestus gulped.
It just keeps growing. But she's still no match for me. I have time to finish this. This will be the last, Super Saiyan.
Like hell it will! Pan retorted as he rushed her, swaying sideways and throwing a high kick. Much to his surprise, she blocked it, bracing her forearm with her other hand and forcing herself to hold the attack back. Gah! Gotcha!
You think so?
He sent a burst of ki down his leg, detonating it on her guard and flooring her. Lowering his leg, he stared in disbelief as she almost immediately clambered up once more, glaring up at him with those haunting, empty eyes.
To block my attack, to even survive this many hits. Impossible for a mortal!
I'm getting closer, Hephaestus! Pan said quickly, approaching confidently. Closer to your speed!
You'll never match me, you little—
Again! She bellowed, leaping at him and swinging a ki-loaded punch. Snarling in surprise at her speed, he responded in kind, and their blows collided, tossing them both away in a cataclysmic explosion of energy. Break shielded herself from the massive backblast, coughing. She damaged him. Finally! Am I dreaming, or are their powers equal now? Hephaestus sprang to his feet, straightening his helmet.
Our attacks rebounded off each other. I can't believe it! It seems,
he said, fixing Pan with a pointed stare.
You really did awaken to your demigod ki potential. What's more, you even raised it to my level. How? What happened within you to unlock this?
Because, she faltered, bravado wavering. Because I didn't want to admit this to myself, much less say it out loud. But we've heard nothing from him, and with everything else that's happened, we have to assume the worst. The air warped and rippled around Pan, and she was gone from Hephaestus' sight.
What? Where?
A blur of gold reappeared, blocking out his vision, and a rising impact to his chest flung him high into the air. Because you bastards killed my father! After an intense battle, Hades Shenron is finally dead. Unfortunately, it cost the lives of Master Roshi, Fortune Teller Baba, and Oolong in order to defeat this monstrous titan. Their sacrifice won't be in vain. Breakin' 18 advanced further into the Shadow Dragon's tower, and have now encountered Hephaestus Shenron, Master of Hakaishin, and the Architect of the Shadow Dragon's tower. As the fight progressed, Pan was reunited with the rest of the group, and is now challenging the Shadow Dragon one-on-one. Meanwhile, Goku and Raditz have finally emerged from what they now learn was a pocket dimension, formed from the very void they were ejected into by Alpha Shenron herself. They have emerged on the planet Svartalfheim, in the hidden 13th universe, far out of range of the 12 they are now accustomed to. There, they have met the god of destruction himself, Janemba, What does this fallen god know about the Eternal that the rest don't? And will they find all the answers they're looking for? Find out next time on Even Further Beyond.